All right, guys, I think we're live. I am the Beard of Darkness, and tonight I bring you, and I hope I don't butcher this last name,
It's
Michael
okay if
R.
you do.
Schultheiss. Schultheiss.
If you can pronounce my name any way you want,
Can we
and
hear the
ditto for my
correct one?
characters, by the way, my characters too, any way you want. If it's helpful and convenient, the way that we do it in my family is shoal, like a shoal of fish. Dice rhymes with dice, so shoal dice. I'm a big
Yep.
D&D nerd, by the way, so dice has a special meaning for me.
Okay, so
Schultheiss.
Schultheiss.
But you know
I
what?
like it.
Any way you want it, just pronounce however it rolls off your tongue is totally fine. Good
So
enough for
I'm-
government work.
There you go. I'm somebody who, my last name is Sorensen, and I've heard some of the like most butchered like letters that aren't even in my last name. So
Oh
I
my
like to
God.
get it right. So I like to get it
But
right.
your
It's a
last name should
respect
be
thing.
so easy.
It should be. It's easy
great.
to sound out.
It's a really cool last name, by the way. Kind of a
Appreciate
Nordic
that.
vibe. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's Scandinavian surname. But
right on.
I'll tell you, I am here to talk about you, man, because I'm
Well,
so
thank you.
excited about what you're going to talk to us about. So I know you've got some prior work. Tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll get into what you just released.
Okay, so my previous series is called the Rostoval Saga. You can see, as always, on the shelf behind me, as I like to say on my channel. So it's sword and sorcery fantasy. My protagonist is a barbarian warrior. There's a sultry slave girl lead in the first book, and that relationship kind of develops over the course of the series. I kind of based it on my intense love for history, especially very ancient history, especially Indo-European history. So it's his people have a very Indo-Iranian vibe. If you get into the 5,000-year history of the Indo-European peoples, they're the based on the branch that went and invaded the Indian subcontinent and Iran.
Okay.
Although, of course, it is a fantasy world, so it's not. It's a very loose basis. But I'm fascinated with the Middle East, the Eurasian steppe, South Asia, that just all those areas, and my love of all that history and sword and sorcery fantasy led to that series. I should
love
mention that. Oh, thank you.
Of course.
I tend to. I'm going to quip here a little bit. You might call it sword and slave girl fantasy. It's definitely a series with, shall we say, the male reader in mind. And I do kind of want to put some warning tags on that series. I try to be very transparent about this.
Okay.
I don't want people to have a bad time. So
Sure.
These books have a lot of adult content. There's a lot of sexcapades with half-naked slave girls. And I'm only saying because, it's not for everybody. And
Sure.
that's okay. But it is for some people. And I've had a lot of fun with them. Anyway.
I think that's the main thing. I'm glad you had
transparency.
Yeah, well, transparency, but I think that you, as an author, it's really important that you had so much fun writing it. And you're right. We don't all like chicken. We don't all like fish. We all ain't gonna like the same kind of books. So you kind of put it out there, let everybody know what it is and what it isn't.
It's very much a pie-in to barbaric vitalism, to the pre-axial age warrior spirit. And I've had lots of fun with them. There's one or two more books to go in that series. It just depends on if the last story is so books 4 and 5 behind me. That was one story, but I had to break it into two for formatting related reasons, which based on previous experience, every story is fatter than the one before. So I'm guessing there's going to be 2 more books, but one story before the end of next year is my goal on that one.
And you're going to be such a wordsmith where you don't have an issue coming up with words.
I do not.
I love that, man. And you just get it down and then you come back and go over it again. We'll get more into that process about it. But so tell us about go ahead.
Oh, one more thing. So I just want to mention this is 5 books in less than 2 years. I published The Altar of My Fate on Christmas Day of 2021. And here we are looking at Christmas of 2023.
Really
and I have
fast.
5 books out. So I'm saying this because I know this is not me bragging. I'm just saying, hey, folks, look, I get it. People are gun shy about a series that's not done yet. And I don't blame you. I don't. Right. I understand. I profoundly empathize. If you're worried about yours truly, I'm only going to point out that I have 5 books in less than 2 years. And these are not small books. These are, 490 to 650 or so pages. And that's 5 books in less than 2 years, and I have the new thing.
I love that. So you're not going to have readers like, man, I can't. It's been so long since the last one
Oh,
come
it's
out.
been 11, 12 years since the last one came out. Gee, when is
Yeah.
we're going to get book 3, book 6? Don't worry.
Right.
That's just, as long as I have my mind and I'm,
Yeah.
alive and well, be kicking out the words.
You're an ambitious author. I love that.
Oh, thank you.
John A. Douglas, one of, he's always.
I love John. Hey, The Black Crown. Are you reading it?
So it's on its way to me. And I heard
my
from
dude.
him actually last night and actually saw some of the nice words you said about it.
Do you play D&D?
Do I? No, I don't have the time.
Okay.
And I didn't find
It's like the
fantasy until I was
ultimate
29.
homage to D&D. Honestly, like, okay, you have a half-orc who is this bookish guy with perfect recall, and I'm honestly like, I got into this and I'm rooting for this kid. And then you have this this guard, kind of a what's it? He's kind of like a city guard type. Strong, has kind of a temper on him, a bit of a mouth on him. John, is this an author insert? I just have to know.
Oh man,
if Court.
There's some authenticity going on.
Said with love, because like I love you, man, and I'm really digging what this. I'm 20% in, and I'm really just I'm kind of loving the bejesus out of it. If you'll pardon my spicy language there.
You can say whatever you want.
Okay, great.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, you should definitely. I'm going to tell everybody now, like, if you like very character-driven fantasy with a lot of heart, and especially if you love D&D, don't walk, run, get The Black Crown. Last I looked, it was like $5 for the ebook. That's a steal. This thing is over 600. It's like, what, 650 pages?
I told John, I said, when you send me that book,
it's a chunker.
I said, when you send it to me, everything else is like put on stop. Because John is like the guy that's been on my side since day -1. So
ditto. I feel like he's as are you, very like a supportive kind of a person.
Yeah, he is. I love it.
Yeah, so I'm honestly I'm enjoying that, and I'm just saying right now, if anybody, it's fun. When's the last time you had fun, like a fun? I mean, there's serious issues in there too, but it's fun.
So
like,
what you're saying right now about fun is when somebody asks me, like, I have this feeling in my stomach when I'm reading a book and I know we're about to go on this adventure.
Yeah.
One that I hear is very D&D heavy that I absolutely died loving was Jeff Spate. And so I hear this heavy D&D inspiration, and I'm just so excited to read it, and I hope everybody else is too.
Awesome.
Yes. So tell us about what you just published and kind of the overview, the subgenre and the whatnot.
So this is my foray into space opera, and I've now outed myself as an epic fantasy author, horning into space opera. So what I'm going to say this story has in common with my previous work is that it is a character-driven story with a lot of action and adventure. And the world building is expansive and sprawling. John, it's expansive and sprawling, and I think it's a ton of fun. It is very different in a number of particulars that we can get into. I'll say it right off the bat. It's basically, there's pretty much no adult content. There's a little bit of swearing. There's some violence. There's some shoot 'em up kind of things. But it's I put some warning tags around this series. This book is very different. It's much shorter. It's a thing I think you can just pick up and just blow through it if you want a quick kind of fun read. It's very fast paced. Shall I read the blurb?
Oh, please do. That's my favorite.
All right. So here we go. This is the official blurb. So here we go. A planet of zealots and alien danger. Can she save her sister? Bounty huntress Avala Taryu never wanted to return to her homeworld, where religious zealots preside over brooding alien ruins and flickering hologhosts.
Oh my goodness, that was the best blurb reading I've ever seen.
But when Avala learns her sister has fallen under the sway of a firebrand cult leader and plans to merge with an ancient alien artifact, she has to make an exception. Battling fanatics, assassins, her sister's intransigence, and her own doubts, Avala faces a terrible conundrum. Can she stop her sister from sacrificing herself? Ancient alien powers, religious zealots, espionage, and family loyalties collide at Arc of Ascension. Mission 1 of Huntress for Hire. Get it now. It's free on Kindle Unlimited, and it's only 99 cents. Is ebook. The paperback is $9.99. Now, where are you going to get a better deal than that?
Look, not with self pub. I know that self pub. I understand why they're a little more expensive. I get it, but at the same time, I $10 for dude.
Sorry,
That's a great price.
you meant not with Trad Pub.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
like
Yeah.
trad pub books are often a little less than self pub books, and that's for a reason. At least for the experience I've had talking with authors. Would you agree with that?
I think that on the whole, I think that thinking about the ebooks, I think that you get a lot of very low priced ebooks in the self pub
No,
sphere.
I'm talking paperbacks. I'm sorry.
Oh, paperbacks. Yeah.
Or hardbacks.
Yeah, I try to keep the pricing on this one pretty low. The hardcover is $18.99, which is actually, honestly, it's pretty low. My share of that take is not very much.
No, I didn't mean you at all. In fact, I was drawing a comparison, saying yours is very, very well priced. Like, I know a lot of self pubs that are selling their hardcovers.
That's fascinating. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
No, that's fine. $36, $37 for the hardcover when you can get a trad pub hardcover for $16, $17.
I guess I hadn't really clued into that because I basically only buy ebooks. Like,
there's a couple that come to mind. I'm not going to do the name calling thing.
Oh,
but,
I gotcha.
You know what I mean? But that's a very, very small bit of experience. I found really reading entirely when I was 29. I'm only 33. So fantasy wasn't my first go-to. So I've only been reading fantasy for like 2.5, 3 years. So I'm still very new at this. I have a lot more to learn.
Hey, so do we all. That's life.
Yeah, sure. Ryan Skeffington, I just got his book. I cannot wait to read it.
Hi, Ryan. Nice to meet you.
His dedication page made me tear up. That's the first time for that. Yeah, I'm not going to say it because I want you guys to get it. It's Lost Souls by Ryan Skeffington.
Awesome. Here's my dedication, and I need to read this because this is important. To Becca, my beautiful bride. After all, this project was your idea in the first place. Thank you for loving me, for challenging me, and for beginning a family with me. I am forever yours, my darling. And the backstory, I'm just going to say, like, the backstory on this is, like, I got to the end of of what we have so far with the Rostov saga. I wanted a break. She's like, hey, honey, how about a standalone, which I did not do. This is mission 1. There's going to be some more. And how about something shorter? And so she insisted, and she says that the baby, so our baby girl is due in January, and that actually factors. That's a big part. Thank you so much. I know you have a little girl of your own.
I do.
And 3 boys.
3 boys. Yep. You're gonna have lots of fun. It's great.
How's the family?
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Everybody was a little sick for a couple of days, but hey, it's on the up and up. Yeah, no, it's on the up and up. We're going strong.
Well, this is all relevant because transparently, a lot of the facing parenthood factored very substantially into my creative process for this book. Is now a good time to talk about that, or do you want to? Something else?
Yeah, man, absolutely. This is all for you.
Oh, you're the best. So, in a lot of ways, this is a book that was inspired by my life experience and by facing parenthood. And I came from a family that 2 parents who loved me, and unfortunately, there's how can I say this tactfully? So I come from a family where I was very strict religious upbringing. I'm just going to put it that way. Like very, very, the kind of family where you get worried about Pokemon or Harry Potter or rock and roll music in the house.
Sure.
That kind of thing. And so that factors into this here. This is very much a family story. My protagonist comes from a very strict religious background, and her people have a whole deal where they were a bunch of religious nut jobs to begin with. And they went and settled this planet to go create their ideal society. And the planet is just littered with these ancient alien ruins and flickering, like the aliens had all these holo displays. So you have like these things that have been on repeat, these 3-dimensional projections that have been on repeat for millions of years.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a very evocative. Let me read the epigraph.
Please
because
do.
The epigraph is actually really really fun. I'm just going to pull this up here. Dedication. Here we go. So the epigraph reads, the contrast between the lower human order and the higher order of the ultra races, whether Riftmaker or Gulat, induces in all cases a kind of existential dread. The proud ruins, the flickering hollow ghosts, they are a riddle and a rebuke, a cipher for existence that haunts the unquiet minds of the human colonists. And this is from a book called Beneath the Looming Gods, Cold Fleet Societies and Ultra Races by Semlin Bairi, who was a great academic in this world. And I wanted that something kind of spooky to underscore the whole thing, because in many ways these group of kind of space opera Puritans have been haunted by these alien ruins, and I wanted to do something with that wasn't just, I've been talking about the religious zealotry aspect, and you grow up and you turn yourself into somebody that you're proud of, and that for me that was the work of my late 20s to 30s to do that. A lot of
it's actually really quick, bro.
Well, thank you. I mean, was I might have wallowed in self-imposed misery for most of my 20s, but by God, I turned my life around, and I have a very, let me emphasize this, because I've been saying some very critical things of religion. I'm actually somebody who believes in religion. I believe that people, whatever that is, like whatever that works for you, helps you to have a higher ideal. I'm trying to metabolize, and for me, art is metabolism. Art is you're taking these things in and you're transforming them. And so I'm trying to react to what Nietzsche called the death of God, and I would say is the great tragedy of this machine age, this industrial age, where, there's many good things about having a society that's secular and pluralistic, and people can believe what they want. There's a lot of important things about that, but the downside to that is that we're in a weird place in civilization where we haven't had time to make sense of the Industrial Revolution and everything that's done for us, and also that we've done to ourselves. And unfortunately, what that means is that we have this situation where our technology bestrides the world like a colossus, but modern people, and I don't mean individual ones, I don't mean you or me or whatever. I mean, collectively, our societies are sort of mentally and morally Lilliputian. There's this profound failure of vision. And what I mean specifically is the lack of an overarching, a transcendent vision that can inspire us to excellence and to greatness and to the fulfillment of our human potential. And that's what I believe in with every fiber of my being. And it took me a good part of my 30s to figure that out. And I think that it can manifest in very different ways with different people. Like, it isn't about one. This isn't me trying to sell you on the good word of Odin and Thor here.
Yeah, no, I don't get that vibe at all.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah. So one thing that has been going on is kind of this unspoken thing is Matt from Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews has been kind of like popping in to my interviews.
Oh yeah, I like that guy.
He drops these. Yeah, he's got a wonderful channel. And he's been dropping some tidbits about authors that I'm interviewing, and they are quite baffling. Let's see if this one hits the same mark. Michael, what's the best movie you've seen in the Del Oro?
Oh my God, the Del Oro! How do you know this? I'm sorry. This is just. Oh my. Okay. I'm floored, Sir Matt. How do you know this about me?
Your sources, Matt.
Okay. So this is because I just freaked out. I have to explain.
Yeah.
Matt is obviously some kind of super sleuth because
he's a genie of some sort.
Yeah. Well, so I'm from Grass Valley, California. And the Del Oro is our theater, so
it's so cool.
Okay, I'm going to try and give the best answer that I can. And the problem is that I haven't lived in Grass Valley since I was in my early 20s. Let me think about this and circle back, because it has just been a good minute. Sir, my cap is off to you.
We go to the same barber, Mike.
Yeah.
Look at that, man.
Captain Razor, the Dollar Shave Club in my case.
So we'll star that comment. We'll circle back later.
Yes.
But it's so cool that he's kind of like digging a little bit. It's added like this whole little thing to the lives. It's really fun. John says, "Hail, Matt." Yeah, of course. Yeah. He does reviews like nobody else. Ryan says, Michael, I love the love for your wife. I know how important a great partner is.
Thank you so much. My wife is really, life is like 1,000-fold times better with her. And I should mention that she is substantially the reason that these books exist at all. I had turned my back on them on the original. I'm sorry, the original book. I had an earlier draft that has very little in common with what you see behind me. And she read that draft and said, "Oh, this is actually pretty good." I'm like, "Honey, this is not that good." "Oh no, honey, it's actually pretty good." I'm like, so eventually, with her gentle encouragement and poking and prodding, I decided to redo the Altar of My Fate, and I did a couple of different drafts, and I went forward, and so
I love that because
the mistakes and the shortcomings are all mine, but I have to give her a lot of credit for inspiring me. She's just been a fantastic. Usually, I go through every project, I'll have one big crisis of confidence where I'm like, "Oh my gosh, my writing is crap. I'm crap." And this is just a thing with us creative types. We get there sometimes.
Humans too. This human thing.
It's that couple percent of the time, like 90% of the time, I'm fine. But who boy, you get me in the worst 2% of my mind. "Oh, I'm a failure. I'm stupid. I can't." She's always just talks me around, and so
that's a wonderful
I should mention, yeah. Gosh,
I often tout my support system as well as my wife as well.
Yes, support absolutely.
I find myself baffled at the amount of time she spends interested in what I do, and so it's really flattering, and it's really nice. I like what you said, and I feel the exact same way, and I think a lot of people do. So, let's see over here, Charlie. Oh, we needed some context for that one. 1 second here. Matt says, "Sorry, I had to hit pause to help my son with something. I read you were from Grand Valley, and I'm from Folsom, and I've been to Del Oro. Like everyone.
Everyone there, yeah.
Very cool.
Oh, I'll probably fail on the question because it's just been so long since I've seen movies in the Del Oro theater.
But I think that kind of even without the definite answer, I think that's so cool that he spent the time to kind of find out.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's
so Christ Brings a Sword says, "Is it okay to divorce when the love is gone from a marriage, or does a promise not mean anything?" I really kind of
question.
It is. I kind of didn't know the context for that.
Is it? I guess there's a question there. Is it? I'm in my case. So sometimes this is where I'm going to say I'm not competent to manage your life, one's life for one.
Yeah.
And so I would my attempt off the cuff to answer this question would be maybe make sure that it's gone, as opposed to you're in a rough patch and you need to take responsibility for yourself and rekindle that love, because sometimes life is there's an element of love as a choice, and I'm sorry if that sounds difficult for some people to hear, because I know that it can be a little bit, but no, it is at a basic level. But sometimes, I mean, I've seen cases where, including my parents, where divorce was the better option, unfortunately.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I appreciate the bravery and courage it took to ask that question.
It's a good question. I'm going to be a little bit careful because I don't think I'm competent to manage. So that's actually a theme in this book, by the way. Like my protagonist is somebody who has a lot of love for her family, but she's been hurt by her uncle, who gets her involved in this thing because she went and joined the army in this cosmos, this set of worlds. It's called the Commonality. So the Barak Commonality is this set of 63 different systems, and they have an army, and they have an armada, and they have this whole structure that spans these worlds. And she went and joined that. And her planet is again, it was founded by religious nut jobs, like it was. And so people there have kind of a lot of antipathy toward the Commonality because it's a bunch of outsiders who don't share their religious beliefs. And her uncle is from that planet, of course, but he is in organized crime, and they're very much a worldly set of people. Anyway, he sold weapons and information to the people who she was fighting and killing and being shot at by. So there's some betrayal there and some feelings of, I can't trust you. And then she's trying to, help her sister to not merge with this ancient alien artifact. And if you've ever, I'm wondering if people out there might relate to, you come to a point in life where you've made your mistakes, but you've learned some things too, and you see your family members, especially your younger siblings, maybe, or even parents, just making mistakes, and you go, "Gee, I want to help you, but excuse me, that me helping you is me trying to control you and push you down this path or that path," and you have to sort of realize, however hard it is, and it can be very hard, there is a basic level at which family is not for us family are not given to us to fix or to put straight, but rather, it's our job to love them. It doesn't mean we approve of everything that they do. It means that we accept them and we love them, even though it's really hard sometimes if they're making choices that we see as bad or destructive or fill in the blank. And that's actually a very major theme in this book.
Well, then look at that, circling it around. I love that.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to what we hear a lot of people saying, the human experience or condition, which, whether you want to admit it or not, as cliche as that may sound, we're all human, and we end up relating to that every single time. So Laura says she loves that theme.
Oh, good.
So kind of back to, I don't really remember where I was at. We kind of took a left turn there for a second.
We did, but that's the best kind of, those are the best kinds of conversations, I think, because you never run out of, you don't run out of things to talk about.
Yes, exactly. Well, one thing
thank you, Ryan. That's very nice of you.
One thing that I've learned is, like, you get two people, or especially two people talking live, and then 100 people, 20 people in the comments talking about the same thing, where it's like, there's never going to be an end. You kind of have to pick and choose. But it's so cool how much we all get along and like have like minds. So
yeah.
Ryan says, quite the philosophical divergence and lovely answer. I agree. John says, sometimes you let cousin Frankie smoke crack.
Yes.
So he finds out smoking
crucially,
crack
you
is
don't
bad.
enable him. That's a thing that I think
No,
my wife
I
and I have both been in this situation, not with regards to people smoking crack, but with regards to loving somebody very much and wanting them to do better, and realizing that you have to let them make their choices, although it is very, very hard sometimes. And I'll show this to her and she'll be like, oh my gosh, yes, I know what you're talking about. Unfortunately, it's
those kind of situations. I mean, me personally, if I had been enabled, I wouldn't be here today.
Yes, I totally relate to that.
I had to find out what the bottom felt like to be where I am today. And oh my God, is it so much more beautiful than I ever would have thought.
That's a lot of my heart with this book. My life is fantastic. The fact that the big worry in my mind right is, oh my gosh, I want to be the best father that I can to my baby girl. And, that's like, okay, but I didn't have good examples growing up. But you know what? I got my wife, who's amazing. We have a lot of love and support from family. A lot of her family are in town. They're lovely people, delightful. So we're going to be good. Like, that's like, my life is fantastic. A lot of this book is my labor of love, trying to do what I can, to try and help solve the problem that I mentioned before.
I love
with the dearth, the shortcomings of meaning. I say meaning, purpose, and identity. And I mean the sacred, the ability to have a narrative we tell ourselves about ourselves as individuals, but also, collectively.
Yeah, no, I think you're going to hit
sacred narrative in a very real sense.
Sure. I think you're going to hit so many points along that road that people are going to really relate with. So Christ Brings a Sword wants to also know, is the Arc of Ascension a physical or spiritual thing?
Both. So in this world, I'm going to try and avoid spoilers here, but I can say this without, I think I can avoid spoilers with this. So there's an ancient civilization in this cosmos called the Rift Makers, or just the Makers for short. And, again, this is me trying to be transparent here. I'm an epic fantasy author, so you don't get the finer points of how their technology works, but somehow they have all this, ancient stuff, and there's literally the when you're in hyperspace approaching the world that my protagonist, that she's from, you have this colossal figure of a maker. They're kind of like these. They have these sort of beaked, kind of bird-headed. Think of like a feathered dinosaur, but bipedal and long arms, grasping claws, and kind of a bird-like. I'm fascinated with various things pertaining to evolution, and so I thought about, well, if I'm going to have aliens, and I don't want reptiles, and I don't want insectoids, and I don't want little gray people, what am I going to have? And my answer in more than one case has been, what about something that looks like it could have been a theropod dinosaur, although in this case it's not. It's a separate thing. Anyway, I'm sorry. Long walk, short drink of water here. There's an ascendant, somebody who has achieved a higher spiritual form of existence in the hyperspace continuum, in the part that is maps onto her home world, and that ties into everything else. And so you have these maker arcs, and if you can imagine like a spiral, like an ammonite shell where it spirals out behind, but it's really, really big, and they come out of these rifts, these cracks in the surface of the planet that are full of water, and they come out periodically and they ascend, and there's these big storms of luminescent clouds, and the clouds are full of all these things called nanites, which can do sort of there's a lot of hints that the makers can sort of, life is somewhat malleable to them. And so these arcs, you can put a person, or you can put what's called a Synthian. This is a synthetic person in them, and they can control that, and it has incredible amounts of power. And one thing you can do with them, with the most powerful category, is you can make a great big starship. You can take it like a scale model of a starship. You plug the arc in, boom, you got yourself a gigantic starship, and it's enormous. It's very, very fast. It's incredibly powerful. It can regenerate if it takes hits. It can take on a lot. All you have to do to refuel it is just park it by one of these worlds, and there's a number of them that have these rift systems, and it just sucks up energy. So it's the perfect dream weapon.
I didn't mean to distract you. I'll pop it up when
that's a great one.
He says, Michael, how long do you think of you could live in your fantasy world?
Okay, so
would you survive, or are you doomed?
I want some clarity on whether John means my Rostoval Saga world or this one, because this one, yeah, I could survive. It's a modern, it's a Star Age society. It has modern comforts. It has, I'm drinking mushroom coffee. My wife kids me about that, but I love mushroom coffee.
I was gonna say, I haven't tried mushroom coffee. Is there benefits?
Oh yeah, it's a good way to get a little, pick me up without all of what comes with a lot of coffee. And I need a lot of caffeine, so I have my regular black coffee. You'll find that my book has these. There's a special coffee in my book, and it's psychogenic and all that, and I don't drink that kind of coffee, but
sure, yeah.
But my wife always says, kids me about the mushroom coffee, like, oh, it's magic mushrooms or whatever. And I literally have a thing called magic mushroom that is mushroom cocoa, but no, none of the mushrooms are psychogenic. Okay,
you're not
Rostoval Saga World. Rostoval Saga World. John asked Rostoval Saga World, which is called Liam Gullo. In Liam Gullo, and we can do spicy language here.
Yeah, 100% shit. Yeah.
Okay, so in the Rostoval Saga world, transparently, I'm fucked. Because I can't wield a sword, I can't ride a horse, I can't shoot a bow. Like in the Rostoval Saga world, you need to be the meanest, most ruthless warrior that you can. Yeah, you need to be able to ride horses, ride into battle, use these powers that they have to make themselves stronger and faster. And you're going to be chopping people's limbs off, and it's a combination of they have mounted warfare with both bows and arrows and swords. They have to be good at both. So yeah, if you aren't one of these elite warriors, you're going to be a subject or a slave to the elite warriors, and that's like the vast majority of people in that world. So yeah, I would be completely boned, but that's true of like 99% of people on the planet. If they were in Liam Gullo, they would just be absolutely. If they don't have modern weapons to even the score, then
sure. And I can't believe I didn't do this earlier when he commented. Ryan Skeffington, he says, "What a great question. I'd love to live in my sci-fi world if I were an upper caste. Else not so much. So, but this is his book.
Oh, super cool.
Oh, it's It's just the
Jeez,
best,
look at that
coolest
cover.
cover. It's really beautiful. So yeah, I can't wait to
That
dive
is
into that.
gorgeous.
But if I have to, of course, rep the people that I'm talking about here, and I'm so
Yeah.
excited for this, Ryan. I wish all the success with it, and can't wait to have you on for our talk, man. And excuse my voice, guys. I have a little bit of a cold.
Oh, you're great. Hoping
Awesome,
you get all the way over the cold. I know those are no fun. We had the
man.
flu literally last Christmas Eve. I was coming down with it last year, and then
Yeah,
and then my wife came down with it shortly after I did, and we just had the worst health we can possibly imagine between Christmas and New Year's. So, trying to avoid that, especially with a little one. So we're going to do a much more chill and just us kind of holiday
kind of
season.
hang out. No, I love that. It's like we have 4 children, so it's like the kids start with it, and then I try my damnedest really to not get it, and without fail, maybe I'm going to stop stressing myself out and be like, you know what, this is going to have to happen.
Yeah.
And then maybe I won't get it. Well, who knows? Ryan says, Michael,
Yes,
I'll wield the sword for you.
Wield
We
the
can
sword.
cooperate for
Yeah.
mutual beneficial survival.
Better yet, we had some guns. We could. The Rostoval Saga world is the most advanced technology is Iron Age. Although they also do have these like emanated war gods who hover over their armies and give power and morale to the warriors. So it's pretty cool.
I have recently had this super huge inspiration to read sci-fi, and I never thought I'd ever say that. I thought that, like, the very first one I ever read, sci-fi or space opera, whatever you classify it as, was J.C.M. Burns' Wistful Ascending, and I loved it.
I've seen that. I haven't read it, but the cover is very cool.
It is. It's not reachable
Capital
right
Fellow.
now. And he's a great guy too.
Yeah.
Wonderful guy. So I would recommend it. But yeah, just for me to experience more sci-fi, I'm about to start reading, which if Matt's still here, he's got a big hand in this. Empire of Silence by Christopher Rubio.
I love that book.
It's on its way. And
that was one inspiration for this and creatively.
I get to talk to him on the 30th.
Oh my God, that is amazing! So I can't wait.
I hope you're in the chat, just chatting it up.
Yeah, I'll say this. I'll say, hopefully he'll see this. Because I love Christopher Ruwakio's work. His prose has everything. I love everything about his writing, really. But I mentioned his prose in particular really inspired me. And I was listening to that around the time I was working on 4 and 5 of the Rostoval Saga, and I was like, okay. Taking notes, trying to up my game. R. Scott Baker is another one. Yeah. I always want to be better at everything that I do, and this book was a lot of fun in many respects. And Sun Eater was an influence. If you read this book, you will find influence. There is some Sun Eater influence. I don't feel that there's like a ton. Like it's a very different story, but also kind of Altered Carbon is another one. That the season 1 of the Netflix show is just fantastic. Season 2 was a bit more uneven for me, but so
Altered Carbon. So what should I read? Should I read it first, or should I watch?
So I'm trying. Okay, I think I haven't actually read the book. I just watched the series, but I did read Richard K. Morgan. He did what was it, 13, something like that. I read one of his books, and it was pretty good.
Awesome.
So I probably will read
Altered about it.
I'm just trying to remember now. I don't think I've read the book. This is usually my memory is very good. I think that if I had read the book, I'd remember it for sure.
Do you read a lot of sci-fi yourself? Is that your favorite?
Well, so I'm more of a fantasy guy, transparently, but I have been trying to branch out a little bit. So this past few months, I read the Red Rising, the first 3 books in that series, and I just loved just oh my gosh,
that's the reaction I get.
Ate them up with a spoon. They're so good. These are the season 1 Altered Carbon. Yeah. Oh, it's so Red Rising is the kind of thing that I live to discover. Absolutely, just love the heck out of those first 3 Red Rising books. I've not read book 4 or 5 or 6, but so those 3 books.
I don't know if I've ever heard a better compliment. Something I live to discover.
Absolutely.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
That's one hell of a compliment.
There's not like I'm very selective with how what kinds of books I slap that label on. I will say that Jeff Long, The Descent, and Deeper, those books are crazy. And that's another thing where I got to the end of book 1, The Descent, and I was just like, I wish I had written this book. It is so profoundly good. It was really my first review on my channel. I don't know how watchable I was back then, but if you can bear to see, baby booktuber me with my little booktuber wings, like not doing very good, but hopefully, I think I've definitely
it's very watchable,
become more conversational. Excuse me, losing my words here. But I did a review of that, and that is just a superb kind of thing. Those 2 books I'm babbling because they're just incredible. The whole premise is we find that there's this hidden world underneath our Earth, and it has these horned humanoids who inspired religious stories of demons, and then you have these people who go on an expedition down to try and map, get into the underworld and kind of map it out. And there's a bunch of scholars who try and find evidence of a historical Satan, and it sounds insane, and it kind of is, but it's just so cool, dark, adventurous, evocative, gets into your brain, and it's just the perfect blend of like science fiction and fantasy and adventure.
That's the profound experience I hear. And the person individually who got me really interested, well, there was 2 people, Mike from Mike's Book Reviews, and then Matt, my buddy, Matt Pittman from Go Read Books. So I'm very, very excited to read. Well, not only that, but also
definitely
Silence.
And definitely, and I would say if you like stuff that's a little darker, which Spirit of Darkness, I'm guessing that you like stuff that's a little darker. Like The Descent by Jeff Long is crazy, and it's crazy good, and I think it's just the perfect. Again, it's the kind of thing that honestly made a huge impression on me, and that's always amazing when you find a book that just changes. I don't know. It's like, wow, I'm discovering creative muscles that I didn't know I had, or create, in terms of like appreciating like my reader muscles. Like my brain is appreciating this in a way that I feel like I've grown in my ability to understand the aesthetics of story somehow.
People that you look up to are pushing your boundaries and making you want to be better yourself. I love that.
And Christopher Ruocchio is definitely one of those people, to circle back to. Yeah, he is just absolutely superb.
I cannot wait to be like, I agree. I can't wait to read.
You're going to have fun. You're going to have fun.
I think so. So when did you know you wanted to be a writer?
So my mother would say, since before I could actually write, because I would just start babbling little stories. And I would say, remember thinking back to my childhood, maybe around the age of 12, 13, I started to try and write stories, and I wasn't very good, but, I kept at it, pecked away at writing stories through high school and college. And I remember being about in my teens and like thinking, I want to see my name on the shelves of this library that I went to, and, the bookstores. And, back in the day we had Borders bookstores back in the day. And so that I, thinking about this, being in my teens and 20s, like, I want my name on the shelves. But that's been a long-term thing. And at 36, I'm 38 now. At 36, I finally did it.
That's amazing. And I think that also says something that I've seen like Jay Kristoff say, like, it's never too late. He was like, I think he was 42 when he hit something like that. He went the bestseller list. He didn't publish his first book till he was like 38.
I'm ahead of him then.
Yeah, exactly. So
said in jest, only because I published when I was 36.
Yeah, so
it's not a competition. It's a marathon, not a sprint, as my wife always says.
Anybody in this community knows there's not much of a competition in the most beautiful way.
Other authors are my colleagues and my friends, and I want all of you to do very, very well.
Yes, exactly. And I've seen so much of that. I can't disagree with that at all. So who are some of those authors that have their hand in the way that you write?
Oh, I'm so glad I saw that question. I'm like, I am so glad you're asking that. So I would say, if you read the Rostaval saga, it's sort of like if Edgar Rice Burroughs and R. Scott Baker, you have that, and then you have a very sort of fast-paced kind of action and adventure and drama approach to, you know, kind of a blend of that. And I would say on the whole, the people I have to really look to in terms of who really pushed me in terms of my style. Well, Brandon Sanderson was a pretty significant early, like somebody who I was reading extensively. I still read him and I still enjoy him. But I was reading him very strongly in my 20s and early 30s up to mid 30s or so. And I was always very impressed by his characters, his well-plotted stories, his world building. My booktube channel, we talk about, you know, I always break it down by character, by plot, by world building, and give it overall rating, and then, you know, who is it for, who is it not for. Sanderson is one of those guys who I was just always very impressed, and the vast majority of his stories are at least a 4-star for me, and a lot of them are 5 stars. Like Tress of the Emerald Sea, which is the most recent one that I've read, was just an automatic 5 out of 5. It was just so good. And he does a lot of things that I really respect and admire. So that was an influence. And I'd say that one departure, my stuff has a lot more, you know, there's a lot more mature themes, a lot more violence, a lot more adult content. This one, again, is less that way. I try to really, you know, I think that there's other authors who have had more of an influence on my sensibilities in terms of overall outlook and themes. I should mention Jim Butcher is another one who I really respect. And the Dresden Files are, I mean, they're superb. They're very fast paced. They're very character driven. I really respect that he just keeps building out this world and throwing more and more things at Dresden. Dresden just has worse and worse days and is always more story, always more new developments in the story. And I love that. And that was the thing that with the Rostaville saga, especially, I think about book 3. I'm like, you know, I got to throw more things at Rostaville because he's still alive and he's overcome a fair bit just getting through books 1 and 2. So in book 3, I'm going to throw 2 different challenges at him at the same time and just see if, you know, see what he does. So Jim Butcher was just a huge influence on my thinking, and he's just a great. You can read him and you'll get lots of ideas for, oh, I could do this in my story and that. Like he's so creative. Like even if you aren't mirroring what he's doing, you'll find yourself thinking about possibilities.
And if you watch his interviews too, he's got just really, really awesome ideas and ways to do things.
Oh yeah.
I think the most recent one was Fanfi Addicts. Interview with him, Jim Butcher, and I haven't read any of his books.
I'll watch that.
So I'm really looking forward to.
I don't know. Read him.
I think the interview's out, but I'm not 100% sure. It was like a short, like little snippets of it, but I think it's out now, the full interview. But yeah, one I haven't read. I don't think any urban fantasy. It's one of those genres that, at least for me, I don't know many series that are in that genre.
So Dresden Files is the one that I'm going to recommend because it's from my perspective, and it's not for everybody, and you know, not everyone likes it, and that's okay. But I think it started good and gets great a few books in, and as you go, it gets more and more God tier, like S tier. So that's definitely an inspiration. Even though I don't write urban fantasy, I do have a futuristic urban fantasy series planned. That's going to have to wait, but I do have one planned. And yeah, Jim Butcher, definitely an influence. The other guy I'm going to mention here, okay, 2 more. So R. Scott Baker is my favorite author, and it's just not even close.
Really?
The Prince of Nothing series is the best book series I've ever read, bar none. And there's other series that I love very dearly. That one is number 1 in my heart. Pride of Place, no question about it.
I have to reread it.
Oh my God, you are in for the most incredible.
So I read like 3/4 of it and DNF'd it, but that was before I really loved fantasy. So
you've got to try it again. It is.
I loved what I read, but at the same time, it was very complex for somebody who had no introduction to fantasy.
Yeah, so this is a point that somebody made. It might have been iWizard. Somebody I watched a BookTube video that was really great. He broke it down and said, the thing with R. Scott Baker is you think about it in terms of, maybe a 1 to 10 scale in terms of how accessible an author is. Like we 1 to a 10. Sanderson might be like a 2 or a 3 because he explains things really well. I'm not knocking him. I'm saying he does it really well. It's actually a good thing.
Sure.
And it works for his stories. Steven Erikson is like a 9 or a 10. Baker's like an 8. And I would agree with that. That's a good. Baker kind of throws you into the deep end and says, figure it out.
Yeah, he does. And I really feel like that paid off too, like getting close to the end. When I DNF'd it, I think, like I said, it was just not the first book I should have read in the fantasy genre.
I agree. That's like, that's sort of like if you're going to get into mountain climbing, I'm going to say, I'd feel better for your safety if you show me you can handle, Spencer's Butte here in where I live before you tackle Mount Hood, let alone Everest or whatever,
And he's a brilliant writer. Don't get me wrong. And I knew that when I was reading him.
Gorgeous writing.
But I think that's one series that I will absolutely have to go back and read. Let's see here.
I should add that 2 other authors I have a lot of love for. Frank Herbert, because Dune, and then Dan Simmons is an author who I think. There's just so much to say about Dan Simmons. His books to me range from good to absolutely S tier. And
wow,
yeah, oh my gosh, what an author! What an
wrote,
absolutely
Hyperion, right?
Hyperion is an excellent one. Ilium, The Terror. That's a fantastic book. Oh yeah, that's.
I have to dip into him too.
Carrion Comfort is another one that is just. That is dark and spooky. There's mind vampires. But you got it. You got to read Dan Simmons.
That's definitely on my list, along with all the rest of the guys that you just talked about. And another one too that I know you've done the review for is Brian Lee Durfee.
I love Brian Lee Durfee. Lovely human being, also an amazing author. I'm working on The Blackest Heart. It's really, really good. Yeah, no, fantastic author.
I've started.
Go read him. Really you will not be sorry.
So Free Wolf says, so my wife says, but you are writing the characters. Can't you just answer a question about what they'll do?
Oh my God, right?
Not always, but your characters react to possible scenario.
Okay, so that's I relate to that immensely, and I generally feel that I know. And what I do is I map out, I call it blocking out. So I have my Scrivener and I do bullet points. Okay. So my character, we have this setting. Ivala says this, and then, her Uncle Card says this, and then we have a whole back and forth and then this happens. And so I think that I know, but sometimes in the moment I'm like, no, what I had is not going to work. It's got to be this. And whenever I find myself improvising in the moment, it's always better in the sense that sometimes I get it right the first time. Sometimes you need to listen, is what I found. I need to listen to what the characters are telling me in the moment. And that, no, she's not going to say that. Oh, he's not going to do that. It's going to be this other thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
let the writing
you just have to listen. Like you do. And if you don't, it's going to come back to bite you. I promise you that. So it's good to play. Okay, let me stop there because not everybody's the same. And so some people, pantsing and improvising is going to be 100% their process. I respect that. I really do. But for me, I need to try and plan it out. But I also need to be flexible enough to just wing it in the moment. If my character is like, no, we're doing this. No, I'm not going to be okay with what he said or did. I'm going to be mad.
I love that. A term that I just kind of learned from, I think it was S.K. Kloppenstein, headlighting or head lamp. And you just explain it, like having a general idea, but kind of letting your writing take you to those spots.
If you pay attention and you are, you're open, your characters will tell you who they are.
Mm.
Listen. That's my advice for anyone who wants it. And it doesn't mean don't plan, because again, I do plan. I do try to plan very carefully. But you got to be open when the muse speaks. You got to be open to listen. Is my view.
And
It's
trust
just about
that inner
humility,
voice.
you know. Yeah, like you got to be humble enough to say, okay, I had a plan. It seemed like a really smart plan. I can improve on it.
Gotcha. No, I
Yeah.
love that. That's a great answer. Do you use Scrivener? Do you love
Oh
Scrivener?
my God, I love Scrivener. Yes, I will never go back to Word. So Word is a great program if you want to write blog posts and memos and TPS reports if you've watched Office Space. It's not such a great program if you want to write 200 to 600 page or more novels, because it gets bogged down. And yeah, I mean, you can do things to make it so that you can navigate, but it just does not have. There's two things about Scrivener, maybe three. Okay, so Scrivener has a few things that I just love about it, and one is that I can organize my headings, so it's very easy to just do a new chapter, and I can, you know, here's all my, you know, I have the what's it called, the editor open and the inspector, and then I can, yeah, I can look. Oh, here's all my chapters.
Mm.
It's just there. I don't have to go click over it or whatever. Like, yeah,
If you need to read it,
I
like,
might sound a bit
organize
lazy right now, but yeah, I want organization.
Mm.
I don't want to have to do something complicated to make a new chapter. I like solutions that are simple and easy and work, so I don't have to spend much time screwing around with it. And in Word, like, it just gets sort of buggy and bulky
It
when you get
does.
up to like 100 pages, let alone
Yeah.
more. And I just don't like it for that.
No, sure. I think that that's a great point, and I think a lot of people are on the exact same
And
page.
there's another couple of things that I.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you so much, E.L. Montego. I really appreciate that. That makes my freaking day.
He is a huge supporter of all the things indie, and he's also writing himself. So he's
I
my
will
writing buddy,
look
if you
him
will.
up. I will look him up. So Scrivener, I got to mention two more things about Scrivener, because it's just.
Please do.
Okay, so I'm a guy who likes to have lots of, you know, story. Like, I'll have I call it story beats. So it's my little bullet pointed outline, and I change it over time, so I can have that. There's literally a whole thing called research. And so I'm looking at mine right now, and I have what I call my peripherals: my character roster, dedication, author's note, categories and keywords. I have a tab, a little thing, a little sub document for this interview. I popped everything in there, so it's in front of me. And if I ever, you know, need to do another interview about this, it's just right there. It's under influencer correspondence. And so it's just all there.
Yeah.
And all my world building notes, they're all there. They're categorized. And my market research that I did on comp books that I wanted to compare with my book, to look at, you know, is this their audience? Is the cover a good cover that I can, you know, like, use this as a model, go to my cover art designer and say, oh yeah, Ryan, buddy, let me tell you, Scrivener is going to be, I promise you, your life will be so much better with Scrivener.
Organization does that.
Yeah, and with the story beats. So I write them out, and I'm always rehashing them. And when I've gone through them, I want to junk them, but I'm a pack rat. I don't want to get rid of them. So what do? I cut them. I drop them into the inspector, and you'll find out what that is. I could show you in 5 minutes, and you'll never forget it. It's the notes feature, and that's just a scrap, you know, like a garbage pail, or like a scrapbook, where everything that I've cut from my outline can just live in there forever.
But be organized.
If I want it, well, I mean, it's the way that I use it with the notes. It's not very organized, because I'm just junking whatever I had written through. But maybe I'm like, okay, self, if you ever want to go back to that idea and say, gee, did I do what I wanted to do? Or what about, I was going to do this? I can just go review that if I need to. And I don't generally end up doing it, but it's just there. So it's very easy to put stuff aside without the anxiety of, oh my God, if I delete it, what if I wanted it after all? What if it's that one little turn of phrase that
turned this book around? Or
yeah, and speaking of, like, not losing things, have you ever had a Word document crash on you?
Yeah, E.L. Montague knows. We and him send Word documents to each other, and I had one that just got deleted.
So I'm not a violent person. But if there is ever anything that will make me commit homicide against a computer side,
Computer side,
tech
PC
aside,
side.
it's gonna be Word seizing up and eating my work. I
Yeah.
hate that aspect of Word with the fiery passion of 40,000 blazing suns.
Ooh.
I just hate it so much that small documents, not a problem. 5-page essay, not a problem. You can save as you go, it's not a problem. Big, chunky documents with lots of visuals, lots of text. Everybody has a horror story about losing a part of a chapter or of something to Word. And I'm sorry, if your program is going to eat my work, I will hate that aspect of your program. And I'm not saying I'm going to, hire a synthetic assassin to go after you. It might be a nod to something in my story, but
No, I get it.
sleep with one eye open. No, I'm kidding, of course. But that's just my
that's a
my
baby
thing.
of yours.
That's yes, and Scrivener, what it does when you create a new project is it says you need to give this thing a name, right? You need to actually have a file named. So if you're working an unnamed file, unsaved, and it doesn't have a thing where it seizes up and then it's like, oh well, I guess your work is gone now. It saves up front, and then oh yeah, and so I would El Montague, what I would do, you're probably doing this, but like if you email everything to yourself, then you have it. No matter what you are doing. I do this even with Scrivener, but Scrivener auto saves as you go, and you can also tell it to save if you're like me and you're paranoid and you want to make it save sometimes.
Yeah.
But it auto saves, and I'm not saying I can't promise you'll never lose anything, but I'll say that your chances of losing any significant amount of your work are very, very small if you're not doing anything weird with your computer.
Okay.
And this is why I'd recommend it. Like, yeah, I mean, by all means, do things like email to yourself. Like, have other backups. Have a hard drive, an external hard drive, which is one thing that I do have. Email it to yourself. But Scrivener is very good at not eating your work and, fucking you over in that regard. And that's, I don't use a lot of F-bombs, but when it comes to word eating stuff, I'm going to use the occasional F-bomb because
well, then I need to be more like you because I dropped quite a few.
Yeah. I can think of a couple of times when it ate my work and I was just.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so Scrivener, that was a long rant. Sorry, but I love Scrivener and I highly recommend it.
They need to hire you as a spokesperson because you really covered a lot of the reasons why you should use that over Word right there.
And let me add so there's one other program that I'm going to plug because I also love it. So Scrivener is good for a lot of things. It's a fantastic word processor. I do not use it for formatting my books, although it is possible to do that. If you want to use it for formatting your books, you may need to take a $50 Udemy course. Udemy or Coursera or whatever. I'm not the little tongue-in-cheek, but not by much. A much better option is Atticus. 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 So Dave Chesham, I think. Hopefully I didn't butcher his last name. The Kindlepreneur guy, Publisher Rocket. That's his program. It is a web app you can install on your computer, which is what I do. And again, I don't want to spend a lot of time working on the finer points of book formatting technology stuff. I want a solution that is going to be fast, easy to learn, fairly idiot proof because I can be a bit of a dummy when it comes to technology. And I don't want to have to stress about it. And although Atticus, I mean, I'd say that I've had the occasional hiccup, but on the whole, it's been superb. It's been God tier. And it's very easy to learn. So all you really do is I export my books from Scrivener as a Word document, .docx file format. And then I just, without touching them, I import to Atticus. And it's really easy to do that. And you just do that, boom, it's there. It's just there. And then you can choose the formatting, and there's a number of different templates. You can make your own custom templates. I've messed around with that a little bit. You can, ornamental breaks. Like, it just makes everything so easy. And I can show any person here how to do it in 5 minutes, and you'd never forget.
Wow, that's
So
amazing. Well, you've talked me
Atticus
into
is
it.
going to be your best friend for formatting your books. It is, last I checked, it's like $147 for a lifetime license. That is a steal.
Yeah.
That is, I'm sorry, that is maybe not a cheap piece of software compared to some things, but it is very cheap for
In comparison to others.
Yeah, I mean, and what's, you can do, like, you can do a Word document. I guess I've never bothered with this, but you can take a Word document and format it. And I'm sorry, I do not have the patience for that.
The
It
indents.
might be a very simple task. I'm sorry, I don't care. I'm too busy working on my stories and living my life, and I don't want to have to be bothered with it. And Atticus makes everything so simple and so easy. Vellum is the other one, but Vellum, last I've heard, is only for Mac, which I do not have, and it is spendier than Atticus. So there's that. But yeah, so I recommend Atticus. I just think that it's a solution that is going to be straightforward, works very well. It's not difficult. If you get stuck, you can talk to them. The people the support team are very helpful and very friendly. I've had to email them sometimes because, nothing's perfect, and you do have to, hey, I got this issue. Oh, try this.
Customer service is very important.
Oh, yeah.
When I subscribe to something. Real quick, Sam Paisley, a wonderful indie author.
Howdy,
just had
Sam.
him on.
Yeah, lovely conversation.
I was
very impressed.
Was able to sneak in for the end. Hello, man. Thank you for stopping by. This is his book, The Elements of Time.
What a beautiful cover. Name. Oh, my God. Look at that.
It's very enticing. Lots of questions to be answers. And the name of the book is The Winds of Change. So I'm really excited for him. I think he's got a really cool thing going. And yeah, thanks, man, for popping in. He says that he uses Dropbox for cloud backup.
Yeah, I have Dropbox too.
And he has 9 years and multiple versions of 7 drafts of the book 1, which is this.
Elements of Time.
Dropbox.
Lovely cover, man. Gorgeous.
Absolutely. And Ryan agrees. So two sci-fi fantasy authors who really enjoy that cover, man. That's super cool. What are you reading right now?
Okay, so I'm reading The Black Crown by author John A. Douglas. I'm having so much fun with that.
Dude, I can't wait.
Yeah, it's, oh my God. Like I'm a D&D nerd, and I have been for a long time. Pathfinder, then D&D. So the stuff, the tie-ins are just, it's everywhere, and it's just so awesome.
I can't wait to drop a review from somebody who isn't aware of those tie-ins.
Yeah, well, I look forward to I would love to see that. That is so. That's, I'm going to say that number one, like that's I think I'm really excited about right now, having a lot of fun reading it. I'm also reading No Such Thing as Werewolves by Chris Fox, and that's the whole premise is there's this pyramid that arises out of the ground in South America, and these advanced like special forces kinds of guys, but like mercenaries, are deployed to go check it out, and a werewolf comes out and attacks them.
That sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it's been hitting a lot of the same notes as Jeff Long's The Descent, that you have this ancient mystery and this really creepy creature thing, and like, oh my God, I'm having it's fun. It's not as good as John Douglas's The Black Crown for character work, but it is definitely intriguing. I'm having a lot of fun with it. One more, I'm reading The Warrior Prophet, book 2 of Prince of Nothing by R. Scott Baker. This is a reread for me. The Warrior Prophet. It is, book wow, 2, right? Like, yeah, it's book 2. It's really something, and really like for me, the sense of reconnecting with some of my own roots as an author.
Wow, that's got to be so cool.
I think if comparing my work to R. Scott Baker, I mean, I'm like, Acorn, Oak. Looking up at him, yeah. But I will say, I think my work, I love his sense of sociological realism. Even with the aliens and the magic and all that, it feels real. And I think that's one thing that somebody who reads his work and reads mine might see, that I've been trying to Yeah.
A character I particularly, I don't remember her name, but she,
Esmanette?
it may have been Esmanette. She's the like a whore.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. She just brings human to the story.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So what he does is he's not afraid to. Which I'm talking about this as if I should have loved it, which is why I need to reread this
I
series.
highly recommend it.
But he's not like he's not afraid of somebody being offended, which I really freaking dig in an author.
I well relate.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love it.
it's so. Let me emphasize, because I'm a little bit cheeky about this sometimes. It's okay if you don't like sword and slave girl fiction. I'm not gonna. There's no shade. I do find that there's a difference between, hey, I don't like it, not for me, not a problem. But then some people, it's sort of like with themes such as these, but not, or with his books too. I find that there's people who are thoughtful and say, yeah, this just isn't for me. I don't, and it doesn't make me feel very comfortable. That's fine.
Yeah.
Then there's some people who can't seem to disentangle their personal hangups from whether it's a good or a bad book. And I am a little bit more, feel that I have the right to be condescending toward those people, because you do. I'm sorry, you do need to separate. These are my personal hangups, which you're allowed to have.
Yeah.
And there's no accounting for taste. And is it a good or a bad book? Well, I'm sorry, not, but those are actually two different things.
Very different. There's so many books in which I know are awesomely written, and the fact that I don't agree with everything is not a part of that. And if I made it a part of that, how could I be a critical reviewer or somebody who speaks on this kind of thing? Like
Colleen Hoover is a romance writer, very successful. My sister-in-law sings her praises, and my sister-in-law is very smart, so I think very highly of her. I did try one of her books. I feel like I'm not really the target demographic, but I'm not casting any shade at all. I respect her enormously. She's obviously a very talented lady who's earned every single bit of her success. So again, it may not be for me, but that's me separating, okay, gee, I may not be the target audience here. No shade on her books or on her. I have only respect. Her story is amazing, by the way. You go check it out. Like, inspirational story of an author who comes from nowhere. Oh, Blood Meridian. Oh, I'm glad. Okay, that is the bug shagging craziest book I've ever
I've heard
read.
This.
I do not think I could give it a star rating, because it's such a combination of, like, okay, the most reprehensible characters you can possibly imagine. They're absolute dog shit people.
Mm-hmm.
The quotes that come out of that,
yeah, that's what I've heard,
are mind blowing. And the epigraph that I read was my own humble attempt to channel a little bit of that energy. Although my book is very, very different than Blood Meridian, and I'm not comparing the two. I'm just saying, some of the quotes about the all progress from a descent from a higher order to a lower order. Like, oh, I remember that was something about that. Just like, I read that, and it haunted me. It just gave me the chills.
I've heard this stuff about that.
Yeah, some of the quotes that come out of that will haunt you like nothing else. Is it?
I've got it on audiobook.
So do you find that audiobook is easier for you, or is it harder for you? I find it's harder for me. I'm just wondering.
So I don't have context as far as having the book in front of me. I haven't tried reading it, but that's where I want to do both at the same time. So that's what I'm kind of saving that for. But I'm really excited. I was talking to RJ Barker about it, and I really want to. I want to finish that book and talk with him on his podcast about it when I do finish it, because he is. I don't know if he was like, oh, I love this book, but either way, kind of separating whether it was a good book or whether he enjoyed it, two different things. Very impactful.
It's a challenging thing, and I feel that I can. The experience is so other that it's difficult for me to like. Yeah, I struggle with that one. Not separating my personal hangups or anything. I felt like, hey, his philosophy that this is kind of how human beings really are, to a degree, and under some circumstances.
You're challenging that.
I agree that the basic nature of mankind does have a strong bent toward violence and aggression and darkness.
Primal.
Yeah, but yeah, that's not the problem. The problem is just like, what is it? What am I even reading? Like the layers and the
sentence
lack of
structure kind of thing.
punctuation, the sentence. It's a challenging book, and I don't. This is me just saying, like, I struggle to wrap my brain around it, which is not, again, does not make it a bad book at all. In many ways, it's an amazing book. But
Unique.
yeah, it's just such a unique experience that I don't know how to rate it. I might have to reread it and see if I can figure that out. I just don't know.
No, I love that answer, and it makes me want to read it even more, honestly. So I'm glad you brought
Great.
that up for
I'd
total.
love to know your thoughts
Yeah, I
once you
can't
do
wait.
read it.
So I'm really excited. And Cormac McCarthy is somebody I want to get into more anyway. And rest in peace. I know he just passed.
Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
too long ago. A big guy in the game. He's a game changer. Rest in peace. And respect to everything he did.
I completely agree. I posted my own small tribute to him when he passed it with that, you know, and I'm blanking on, I'm not recalling the thing about the, you know, progression from a higher order to a lower order marked by a nameless dread or whatever. Like that whole thing, that quote just like grew roots
Sounds
in
like
my
it was
mind.
influential on you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's Isaac. That's one that I really want to read. I've seen the movie, of
No
course.
Country for Old Men. Yeah, I have not seen the movie, but I will make a point to read the book. I appreciate the recommendation.
The movie's dark, so I can just imagine the book. But yeah, so what are you working on now, and what is next for you?
Okay, so I just finished a short story set in the world of the Rostoval saga, and I'm about to embark on writing Mission 2 of Huntress for Hire. My plan for next year, I'm calling it the 5-book plan. I want to release 5 books, 3 different series, 2 different genres. So I want to get, you know, end of next year, I want to have, at a minimum, I want to have 4 total Huntress for Hire books. So there's this one. I want to have 3 more out next year. They're short. I can, you know, my plan is to take December and just write Mission 2 of Huntress for Hire. And then bearing into,
and then the baby's there.
The baby, yeah. So that's coming in. That little creative project is coming in January.
Right.
So I'm thinking that may make things a bit complicated, but I'm hoping to publish Mission 2 of Huntress for Hire in February, although it may have to be March. We'll see.
Yeah, you can't predict that.
Yeah. But I'm always going to, you know, writing is a thing that is just very natural to me. So the new routine, once we establish it, and you know, that'll be a fun process. But
that's the part you'll get your schedule and everything in order, and then you'll be able to better predict that. Of course.
Yes, but I'm also planning oh, thank you, Sam. I'm also planning to produce the last story of the Rostoval saga, which maybe I'm going to say, so that's going to be at least 1 book. My goal is to finish that series by not this Christmas, of course, but next Christmas, which would be a nice, neat. If I can do that, that would be a complete series in 3 years with some Hunters for Hire books too. And I'm going to make the first book of a new series, the Sunwheel Cycle. It's my homage to Bronze Age Europe with a lot of kind of Homeric and Wagnerian themes.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so the plan is to start writing that. Ideally, before the end of this year, I'll start writing draft 1, but that's going to take a while. That's going to take a few months. So maybe that's going to take probably several months from me talking to you right now to. I want to enter it in Spiffbo 10. That's a self-published fantasy blog off. So I'm going to try and have that out by May 1st, but I can't make any promises.
I really
the plan is next year we release 3 Hunters for Hire novels and at least 1 Sunwheel Cycle and at least 1 Rostoval Saga, but it may be 2 Rostoval Saga. So the 5-book plan could be the 6-book plan because, as I've established, you know, I wrote these. It was 1 story. I wrote it in about 3.5 months, from late January to early May. And then I took some time to flesh it out, knock out the parts that were not very good. And then July and August were all about publishing, cover art and publication of these two books. So a couple of Rostaval Saga novels is a, few to several month process for me. Yeah. But I'm expecting that series to be complete by about this time next year.
That's wonderful.
So at least 5 books published is certainly the goal.
That's very ambitious goal.
We'll see. But that's the aspiration, certainly.
I love that, man. You've got a lot of great plans, and a good head on your shoulders. You've got the process down, and a good awareness about yourself. I love that. So tell us about your social links, where you're active, and then where we can find your work to buy it.
Okay, so the best place to find me is probably on X, formerly known as Twitter. Is there a way to drop a link? Because my last name is just kind of long. You can see it there, but
so
it's just,
I've got all of your links.
Oh, you're the best. Oh, great. Sorry. Okay.
No,
just me being a newbie. So Twitter, I'm Mr_Schultheiss. Check out the link. That's a great place to find me.
It's in the description.
I would love to chat with you. I love talking to people about my work, your work, what you're reading. I'm also on YouTube. I have a YouTube, a BookTube channel. It's a little channel. I'm not. I have a lot to learn from you and from people like John Douglas, Christopher Navo, Josh of Red Fairy Books, Andrew's Wizardly Reads. Pardon me, I need some water.
No. I totally understand. Totally.
I have a little BookTube channel, but I love talking about books. And I'm just going to keep doing that as I'm able to.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great place to find me. I do have an author fan, a Facebook page, and you can check me out there as well.
I've also got your website up there.
Oh, great. So the website's out of date. I haven't touched it for a while because life and books.
Sure.
But I do appreciate that. And, email is good too. You can always, my email is michael@michaelrschultheiss.com.
Okay.
I'm very responsive. I'm very happy to talk to you. I should say something nice. My cover artist is Mibble Art,
yes,
MIBL art.com. They are in Lviv, Ukraine. And even though they're in the middle of a war over there, they have been so amazing. This cover for this book was I put in the order for the cover art on November 1st. My wife and I went off to Texas to see some very, very dear friends of ours. They had a little vacation. It was great. Texas, by the way, is an amazing state. 10 out of 10. Best Mexican food, friendly people. Everybody is just lovely there. Just amazing.
I want to go.
Oh my God. Go to San Antonio. The zoo. Take your kids to the zoo.
My sister lives in San Antonio.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So definitely the zoo, the San Antonio Zoo is fantastic because they have lots of birds. The best bird collection you can possibly imagine.
Avians.
Oh, you can go in there and just check them out. Like it's just great. Like you can go walk into this there's like 3 different aviaries. You just walk into the aviary and there's like these exotic birds from the neotropics or Africa or Pacific Islands or whatever. It's fantastic. And then definitely get. Okay, you're gonna laugh, but here's a Mexican food recommendation: Taco Palenque. You have got to. We arrived there after 2 a.m, and it was the best Mexican food I've ever had.
Right off the rip.
Yeah, so we were in a hotel. I'm like, I'm hungry, so I ordered some Mexican food. 20 minutes later, it's there. It's the best that I've ever had.
Ay, Dios mío.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm from California, so Mexican food is a big deal to me. So all that to say, food. I'm off, feeding my face in Texas and having a grand old time. I come back, I put in the order November 1st with the cover art. I come back 10,000 times more relaxed than before because I was wound up like a spring before. Mm. I come back Wednesday. They have the cover art for me. It took them like a week to put together the concepts. So here's 2 concepts. Which one do you like? What do you want changed? I said this one. And then it was like another week and a day to get some changes. And then I pressed publish on this book on Thanksgiving, which is when I got the final files. I was up in the morning. I was like, I'm like a kid on Christmas morning. I got the final files for the art. I'm going to put this up there. So
yeah.
So talk about the turnaround time is incredible.
Would you respell the name of
Oh
the
yeah,
artist?
yeah. Pardon me. So it's Mibble art. M as in Michael.
Oh,
I
Michael.
B. Yeah, yeah. So it's maybe can I just I'll just see if I can just type it in the.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
And I typed that in the looks like the private
Oh,
chat. Did that?
perfect. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Because I really respect that, man. My brother-in-law
They're
just got
amazing
back from
people.
Poland, and what they were doing in Poland was getting all the Ukrainian
Oh
refugees,
yeah, it's a terrible situation.
and he just got back from that. So a lot of respect for reaching out to a Ukrainian company and helping them out.
I was doing work with. I mean, I commissioned. I was working with them originally. My first two covers before all of that. Like on my first, like okay, my second cover, I had everything all ready to go. Less than end of January. Less than a month later, invasion.
Uh,
I felt and still feel very, 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 very
mm,
just terrible for them. But they've
yeah,
been soldiering on, and
they have been.
yeah, like I mean, they just keep producing these amazing covers, and like they're the best people to work with because they're so friendly, they're so professional. I'd say, yeah, just go in there if you want to cover from them. Like, I recommend the premium option because you get two concepts, and it's two concepts and all their best techniques for $700, and I don't think you
Wow.
can find a better deal than that anywhere. Um, of course, some folks, there's other options, other artists, and but this option works for me, and it's what I like, and so I have to put in a good word for them because I really love them, and
Love it.
I'm going to be pretty loyal to the people and organizations and things that I like, and they're definitely top of that list.
So that link's now in the description.
Oh, good, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
100%.
they
You
and
guys
they
gotta
do
check it out.
like if you say, hey, the aesthetic of your books is great, or maybe you don't like it, that's fine. They do lots of different things. It's not just fantasy and science fiction. They do every kind of genre you can imagine, nonfiction, self-help. So if you have a need for a book cover, I am 100% certain they can help you out.
Wow, that's great,
Yeah.
man.
And
I
just
hope they see
and don't
this.
take my word for it. Their website is very easy. It's just mibbleart.com, and they
Yep.
have a portfolio, their samples. So even if my covers aren't somebody's thing, that's totally okay. But check them out anyway, because it's not like what my covers are is a very small, like a tiny subset of what they can actually do, which is basically looks to me like
Sure.
everything. I'm not a cover design guy, but yeah. But
All right.
just check them out. They're fantastic.
That's great. I love that. Real quick, that's it right there.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's a wonderful cover.
Well, I
It's
thank you, and
beautiful.
I'm partial. I happen to agree, but I mean I'm have a bit of
Well,
a bias.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I think that I don't know. I think that you can appreciate if you had issues with it, you would have fixed them.
very true.
So I think that it's not as as much as what you said because it is beautiful. I love it. I love it. So uh, I love this question I've been asking lately. Who are some people, and name as many as you'd like, that you'd like to see me interview in the future?
Oh, that's easy. So R. Scott Baker is the that would be amazing if you get him. I would watch the heck out of that. I would just love, and I by the way, I've been saying Baker. I know there's two K's in his name, so I'm not sure if it's Baker or Backer. I'm just going to say Baker, and if it's wrong,
It's one of those
sorry.
last names. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, last name. I wouldn't know anything about that.
No,
So
that's
the
why you're
other
able to
guy.
speak on it.
Oh yeah. So the other guy I'm going to recommend is a fellow. His name is Joseph Sale. That's sale like making a sale.
I've had him on.
Oh,
He
okay,
was one of the first
okay,
ones. He's an
great.
awesome dude, man.
My apologies. I didn't go through your
No,
whole
dude, I don't
roster.
expect everybody to go through my 60 interviews and know everybody. No,
Oh, he's
absolutely.
fantastic. We've
He is the
been
smartest
chatting.
guy.
He reached out because I reviewed his book Dark Hilarity, which is, by the way, if you want a dark, character-driven portal fantasy with a lot of heart, that book is very worth your while. I had overwhelmingly very positive things to say about it. The characterization was top tier. The only critiques I really had were I wanted a bit more, like what we had was really good for the plot and the world building. I wanted a bit more there, but you know what? That's actually a pretty modest criticism overall. It's a very worthwhile book.
He's a wonderful author. The book that I reviewed was Claw of Craving.
Oh, he sent me that one.
Ooh, dude, it's good.
Yeah, I thought it's very dark and sensual, and I
very
dig
much so.
And I'm going to say, you know, I feel like we don't get a lot of Portal fantasy since R.I.P. Roger Zelazny.
Mm-hmm. That's a new name for me. I'm glad you held that up.
Oh my God, that's a classic. Yeah, that's a superb. The Chronicles of Amber. Oh yeah, very worth your while. Character driven, a lot of kind of think like a Portal fantasy with a bit of a kind of a hard boiled detective aspect to it. Although he's not a detective, but it feels a little bit like that.
Okay.
Yeah, very worthwhile. A lot of fun.
I'll have to check it out.
And so dark hilarity for me, it's like, hey, this reminds me of like a much darker version of that, but you know, with you have these young ladies instead of this guy who has amnesia and is from this, you know, immortal royal family. So yeah, I so we've had him on already, Bob.
I'm gonna have him on again.
I would love to see another appearance because I a real gentleman. We've been talking, and he's just a delight to talk to.
He is. He's a wonderful guy. I'm so glad to hear that he's had an impact on you as well.
Oh yeah, lovely human being. You've had John A. Douglas on, so that's would be the other one. Mm-hmm. That's okay. So Dan Simmons might be another gigantic ask, and that might be like, hey, how about Stephen King?
We'll give her a try.
But boy, Dan Simmons would be. I mean, that would be like a. I don't know how accessible someone like Dan Simmons is. I mean, he's
as accessible as you would probably guess he is.
Probably
much not so.
But that would be kind of the yeah.
No, those are wonderful people to say. So I really respect that, and that does not stop me ever or intimidate me from trying. In fact, I've got some people coming up that I never would have ever thought.
Oh, well, Pierce Brown would be another one because like I loved. Like I'm going to repeat myself like a broken record. The first 3 Red Rising books, just fantastic. So like, that might be a bit of an ask too, but boy, Pierce Brown would be very worthwhile and somebody who I really respect.
He's been on some booktubers channels. And,
good. Yeah.
Maybe one day when I'm that big, but hey, those are wonderful things to work towards.
Well, you deserve to be. You deserve to have him on your channel.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Well, hey, I kind of just want to say, man, thank you for hanging out with me and everybody live for a little bit. My pleasure. Letting tell your fiance thank you for letting us borrow you for some wife. I'm so sorry. I talked to EJ Dobble earlier, and he had a fiance. That's why I said
no worries. No, that's all good. She was my fiance for a while before she was my wife. We got married on August 6th, 2022 in our own backyard. It was a really wonderful wedding.
Oh, that's wonderful, man. Yeah. That's very similar to me and my wife's.
Oh, right on.
So I respect it, man. But thank you for letting me borrow you for a little bit. Thank you to you guys.
Thank you.
Matt, thank you so much, man.
And I'm sorry I don't have a good answer on the Deloro Theater, Matt. I it's just been so long since I've seen a movie in the Deloro Theater. I was probably a very much younger person.
I don't remember what I saw at my childhood, but what the cool part is that you got to reminisce a little bit.
Yeah.
So again, thank y'all that came live to hang out and chat with us, and those who will watch it in the future.
Seriously, thank you all. Lovely questions.
And until next time, we'll see you later, guys.
All right.